If possible, a little louder. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, oh Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, because of my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome all of you to our evening Bhagavad Gita circle reading program. Today we will be continuing with chapter 5, and the chapter is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, and it will be read and explained to us by Mother Gita. Mother, it's all yours. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschatya Desatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 5, text number 27 and 28. Sparshan kritva bahir bahayam chakshus chaivantare bhruvoho pranapanao samau kritva nasha bhayantara charinao. Yatindriya manobudhi munir moksha parayanaha vigatecha bhaya krodho yah sada mukta eva saha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. Purport. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of the mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into an eightfold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th, it is only preliminarily explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by the Pratyahara process in yoga, and then keep the vision of the eyes between the two eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether because then there is every chance of falling asleep. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely because then there is the hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up-moving and down-moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of the super soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is a better way of controlling the senses than by Ashtanga Yoga. Text 29. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gnatva mam shantim richyati. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Purport. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. This fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya or illusion due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which in every respect helps one control the senses and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage or Brahma Nirvana. The Eightfold Yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the fifth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, text 1. Shri Bhagavano Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasannyasa Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragni Chakriyaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra yagnas or fire sacrifices. But actually, they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmaneshware bhavtad bhaktir ahetuki tvai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is a causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Text 2. Yam sanyasamiti prahu yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya sanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, or son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Purport. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the Dhyana Yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He's always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Text 3. Arurukshormone yogam karma karanam uchyate yoga ruddhasya tasyaiva shamaha karanam uchyate. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization and pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names, but all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called the Yoga Rukshu stage, and the highest rung is called the Yoga Rudha. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother Gita, for such a wonderful reading. Would like to ask if voters have any questions, any clarifications, any takeaways or comments. Please do unmute yourself or just jump right in. Mother, I have a question. In a nutshell or in a gist, can you share if there's a difference between Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, or is it the next step from Karma Yoga?
So from what I have heard about the yoga ladder, of course, here Srila Prabhupada is giving only 3 steps. He is talking based on, reference to the context right now. But what I have heard is Prabhupada also talking about starting with Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. This is what I have heard. But some places Prabhupada also says Karma Yoga actually done in Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga. You see? So there are different aspects to this yoga ladder.
And Dhyana Yoga is, how would you define that in a gist, Mother, if you were to compare it to Krishna consciousness or without Krishna consciousness?
So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about Dhyana Yoga as meditation, like he was describing. Krishna also was describing how to sit, how to concentrate, on the tip of the nose with half open eyes, all that. So this Srila Prabhupada also explains in the Bhagavad Gita that, in fact, Arjuna also in next chapter, in chapter number 6, this chapter which we have started today, he's going to, at the end of it, tell Krishna, this is very difficult. What you're telling me to do Dhyana Yoga is very difficult. Give me something simple. In other words, give me a shortcut. I don't want to, go to a secluded place, lay kusha grass, put a deer skin, sit erect and have open eyes, concentrate on. It's very difficult. And for us, especially in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult. So my question I had asked when I read this for the first time was, if it's difficult, then why is Krishna talking about it? Why doesn't he just talk straight about Bhakti Yoga, chant and be happy? But then I could understand, from the lectures from senior devotees that just like when we go to Kroger or Publix, we want to buy cheese, but then there's so much variety over there, right? The variety is there because different people have different taste. They want different stuff. So also here in this yoga practice, some want to do Dhyana Yoga, some only want to do Karma Yoga, some want to practice Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna is giving this knowledge for those who are interested in that. But towards the end of the chapter, he makes it very clear. Yogi namapi sarvesham matkati nantaratma. That topmost yogi is this. I'm giving you this knowledge. I know it is difficult, but here is a simple solution. Just think of me within the heart. and that thinking starts with chanting. So that is the difference.
That really helps, Mother. That really helps. Thank you so much. Any questions from devotees? Any thoughts? Any clarification, takeaways? Yes, go ahead, Friction.
Yeah, except my humble obeisances, Mother. Oh, God, Srila Prabhupada. So this last one that you read in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the practice of different sitting postures, more or less bodily exercises. I know, you talked about yama, niyama, and it goes to pratyaha and all the way up to samadhi. But I won't even get to that because Ashtanga yoga and all this yoga. But we obviously through Srila Prabhupada are practicing bhakti. But particularly the first one, Hatha yoga, where we have just exercises that keeps the body in, let's just say, better shape than without Hatha yoga stretching. Okay, this comparison. If we are to keep the body in good shape in order to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wouldn't you say the Hatha yoga can then, in that sense, be dovetailed in service? What do you think?
Absolutely. I myself practice yoga. So as long as we know the goal, and I was actually preparing for a Bhagavatam class for coming Sunday. It's first canto, chapter 2, where Srila Prabhupada clearly says we do need a healthy body. We do need to keep good health, because if the body is not healthy, we will not be able to practice Krishna consciousness. So if performing Ashtanga yoga, Hatha yoga, whatever it may be, or sitting postures, if that helps in keeping the body fit, but the goal is to serve Krishna, then that's absolutely fine. Yes. I have a question. I noticed that in every purport, Krishna says, I'm sorry, Srila Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness. Did you count how many times? I lost count.
I lost count to Mother, but I caught that it's repeated.
Every purport, Krishna consciousness.
That's good. Go ahead.
That means it's very important.
That's why some devotees, if I remember, this is just a comment, that, Bhagavad Prabhupada was also mentioning that. It's mentioned more than once, that Srila Prabhupada was told by some of the devotees that maybe International Society, you can call it International Society for God Consciousness, and that would be like, a pervading statement. He said no. They call it Krishna consciousness, because he wanted to let people know about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. It's the most confidential name when you put it out. So people will mention Krishna and think of Krishna, and in that way benefit, because God is talked about in religions too. And Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion. So,
yeah, so if it's God consciousness, it may be appealing to many more. But then Prabhupada said, Krishna, if you put, so even if someone hears, oh, we are from the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, they start making spiritual progress because they heard the name Krishna, you see. So Srila Prabhupada was very, very intelligent in these aspects, in all aspects, of course, but this particularly, that it should be called Krishna consciousness and not God consciousness. Yes.
I was remembering a class, and I believe it was Vishugata Prabhu that also mentioned the same point that Balabhadra Prabhu said. And he said that one devotee told Vishugata Prabhu that Prabhupada also said, if we put God consciousness, and like you said, Mother, people have what they think who is God, and they'll bring all the gods. So then which is the God? He said, so that's what Vishugata Prabhu said, that Prabhupada says it's Krishna. Because if you say God is too general, everybody's going to say everybody is God. Then who is God conscious? And that's one point that Vishugata Prabhu said that he was also told. Yeah.
Then that gives an opportunity to everyone to say, I'm God. So it'll be like International Society for Gita Consciousness. I'm like, oh, Krishna, everyone will think I am God.
It reminds me of a funny statement. One of the children of devotee, one child was complaining that why were people calling God? His name is not God. His name is Krishna. You should call him Krishna. Not, he is literal, so he just says, that's God, Krishna. Why people call him God rather than Krishna? He's actually complaining. But two means it's stuck in his head. She's a little child, female, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, instead of telling someone, hey man, hey woman, hey girl, hey boy, instead of we address them with their name, So God is just like saying man, woman, girl, boy. But when we say Krishna, we are saying, addressing him by his name.
That's a really powerful statement, Mother. Yeah, absolutely. And like you were mentioning, how many times your Prabhupada mentioned Krishna consciousness is lost count. But for me, what came to my mind is that the more Srila Prabhupada is mentioning Krishna consciousness in each verse, he's reminding us that we have to be Krishna conscious. It's like a constant reminder in each of his verse how important it is to be Krishna conscious. Every single verse is reminding us in some shape and form manner. Yeah. It's really powerful.
Just like in school, the teacher, if whatever is important, she keeps repeating so that the children understand this is important so that they can learn it, like A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. Of course, nowadays for children, A for Android, B for Bluetooth, and C for chatting, kind of, And for old people like us, it's A for arthritis, B for blood pressure, C for cholesterol. You can just, so the conception really changes.
That is really good, Ma. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I use that in my preaching sometimes.
That's a really good one, actually. I like that. Any other comments from devotees? Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
I have one question. So I used to say A, B, C, D for download, for, like D for dog, D for download. But I couldn't figure out in spirituality, what do you say? D for what? Maybe you can help. Like in spirituality, A for association, B for book, C for chanting, and D for, what do you think?
Devotional service.
Oh, yes, devotions. So you gave me another point.
And also diet.
Diet, yes. Krishna Prasadam. Yes.
Wonderful.
E for enthusiasm.
Yes, E for enthusiasm, yes. But then we'll have
I use D for determination because it's for
that's
nectar of instruction.
Yes.
But I was just using determination, enthusiasm, and patience. DEP.
DEP, yes.
The Department of Environmental Protection was called DEP. And later on, I switched it to this.
Yes.
So many things. And I put one more out, LCM.
What is that?
What's LCM in math?
Oh, I don't know.
Lowest common factor.
Oh, yeah.
Krishna?
What's LCM in Krishna consciousness?
Love, cooperation. I don't know.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Haribo.
No, I didn't make it up. It's just Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm making notes, and so I'll use SPD, Supreme Personality of God, and LCM.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya. But I started laughing. Oh, LCM, huh? Okay. Hare Krishna.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Any other questions from devotees? Any other thoughts? This has been such a sweet exchange, I feel. Such a sweet exchange. Any other clarification, takeaways? Please do share. If there isn't, would like to, oh yes, Mamina said, I've learned so many abbreviations.
There is one more. SAP is Sambandha Avideya Prayojana. SAP in software language.
Yes.
No.
Then Krishna should know.
What is that? I missed it.
SAP.
Yeah, that is in the technical world, it is a big software for enterprise resource planning.
Yes.
Very, very famous. There's one more, GPS, Guru Parampara system.
Oh, GPS Guru Parampara system. Yes.
Oh, that's a good one, Guru Parampara system.
Very nice.
That is a very good one.
That's
We
our
got some
GPS.
writing to do, Mother Gita. Our own ISKCON abbreviation.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Next thing you
amazing.
know, we'll contribute to a whole page full of
Yes.
abbreviations.
Amazing.
This is a
Any
benefit
questions?
of
This has been really, really sweet.
Yes.
Really sweet.
From
Just a
Brahma.
humble reminder of tomorrow morning's class. We will be continuing. I think we're going to Chaitanya Charitamrita, if I'm not mistaken, but I have to check this schedule. But if no one else has questions or comments or clarification, Mother Gita, thank you for making this such a lively, sweet, personal exchange. It was really, really sweet. And thanks to all the devotees for joining us. Vanchakapadivyascha, Kripasindavevacha, Patitanam Pavinebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mother Gita.
Hare Krishna. Hare.